Most people, when they're writing the bar exam, are managing some other type of commitment. Maybe that's you. So if that is, hopefully this video will be super useful to you and help you thrive and pass and move on with your life. Hello and welcome back to Catch Up with Kai, a channel where I share with you my hints, tips, tricks and everything I generally think you need to know about when it comes to studying for and writing the New York bar exam, and also where I provide you with that super useful insight for how to thrive now that you've passed the bar exam. And today what I want to talk to you about is how to pass the bar exam while you're managing other commitments. Most commonly, the thing that applied to me certainly and applies to a lot of people that I tutor and work with and have spoken to over the years is managing full-time work with study for the bar. So today I'm going to share with you all my hints, tips, tricks, strategies for success and help you pass the bar exam. So with no further ado, grab a drink, let's chat. Okay, so a bit of background about me so that you can kind of understand exactly what my experience with this is in terms of practically what I went through and also what I've helped other people go through. So when I studied for and passed the bar exam, I was managing full-time work, studying for a master's in the UK, and also I had various family commitments that just meant that my time for studying for the bar exam was super reduced. And so when I was studying, I really needed to make sure that I was maximizing my time to be able to pass the bar exam. And ultimately I did it. It was really tough. I had to be really good with my time management and very strict about the time that I'd carved out and set aside to study, but I managed to turn it into a pass. Ultimately, I did have to pivot a little bit with my schedule and exactly what I needed to do to make sure that I'd covered enough material to make sure I passed the bar exam, but I did it. And yes, I do remember that it was tough, but I don't remember the ins and outs. I do remember that I cried one time, actually a few times, and I do remember that I had to have moments where I really ripped the band-aid off with myself and had to really manage my mindset and think, is this really what I want to be doing? Do I just defer? And ultimately I decided to commit to myself. I had committed in terms of showing up and signing up for the bar exam. And so this time I was going to pass and I was going to do everything possible so that when it came to bar exam day, I was in the best position to pass. And ultimately I did. Even when I had the white screen of death, I had tech issues, I was out of an MPT for a very long amount of time, ended up basically having to pivot and not be stressed. And I still passed the bar exam because I put in that purposeful work. Also shout out to Counsel Table because I think they definitely, it did. I know it did. It gave me the reassurance that I needed to know that I'd structured everything correctly to pass. Anyway, I sidetrack. I am going to give you all of the information that I use to be able to pass the bar exam. I've helped parents pass the bar exam with Counsel Table. I've helped people that are going through health issues, that have to manage accommodations, various other things. You know, it's very possible to pass the bar exam, irrespective of the things that life has thrown at you. The things that life is throwing at you are going to help be a fabric and a making of the wonderful and amazing lawyer that you're going to be. And yeah, don't give up. So anyway, with no further ado, I'm now going to dive into all of that information, exactly what you need to do and how to schedule your time to manage study for the bar exam and full-time other commitments. First off, you need a realistic schedule. This is honestly your recipe for success. This is going to be the reason that you pass or fail. It's ultimately the amount of information that you're able to cover to make sure that you've covered all the information you need to cover by the time you write the bar exam. So what I need you to do, first off, go and get yourself a calendar. Now I need you to mark off the dates of the bar exam that you are going to write. So if that's February or if it's July, doesn't matter, mark it off. Congratulations, you now officially know what you're working to. So the first and most important step is to write out the date of the bar exam that you are working towards. Then on a separate piece of paper, I need you to basically work out the time that you have available. And this is how you do it realistically. So you've got 24 hours in every single day. The first thing I need you to do is deduct the amount of time that you need to sleep. Sleep is important. It is the most underutilized performance enhancing drug. And ultimately, I've seen statistics and study after study after study that basically show your ability to recall information is directly linked to your ability to sleep and be refreshed. So definitely maximize your time. If you need 8 hours a day, definitely schedule that 8 hours. If you need 6 hours, make sure you've scheduled your 6 hours. You need to sleep. Take the time off the 24 hours, right? So that's the first thing you need to do. Now what I need you to do is deduct realistically the amount of time that you're at work, the amount of time that you're commuting to work, for example. I need you to also note that down. So deduct the time that you're actually at work that you won't be studying, or deduct the amount of time that you're doing that commitment that you know you need to do and is immovable, because ultimately you will not be studying in that time. So I need you to cancel it out. Take that off your 24 hours. And then I need you to mark separate to that. I need you to note your commuter time, because your commuter time could also be repurposed to study. So note that down too, okay? Then I need you to block out the the time that you're going to rest, because you are not a machine, you are not a computer, you are not a robot. And ultimately what I want for you is to be bar exam day ready. And if you are burnt out, stressed, tired, at your wits' end, you're not going to perform well on the bar exam. So I need you every single week to schedule time to rest. And so literally I want you to go through your calendar, and whether it's an afternoon or a day or a morning, I need you to literally cross that out. That is your time, irrespective, and you are never going to miss that. Even if you're behind on your schedule, that's your day off, right? First off. Now on the one sheet of paper, you've got the time that you have available every day to study. And on your calendar, you've got the days available to study. So I now need you to go back through your calendar that has your bar exam date tracked out on it. And I need you to take off dates that are important to you, where you will not be studying at all. So that's weddings, birthdays, Christmas, any holidays that you celebrate. I need you to mark them off, events. And now realistically, that now gives you the time that you have available day-wise on your calendar to study between now and the bar exam. And on this other piece of paper, you have the hours available to study. Now, you can look at the metrics, you can see whether or not you've got loads of time. So say, for example, you've got 6 months between you and the bar exam and you're fresh out of law school, okay? Now, realistically, you might now only actually need to do 25 hours a week on aggregate of study to complete your course, to complete your practice that you want to do between now and the bar exam. Now you can purposefully divvy up that time hour-wise and day-wise, now track it out to make sure that you are ready in time for the bar exam. Now, what I want you to do as well with your calendar is also to make sure that you have accounted for days, like buffer days, let's call them, so that if, for example, you get really behind and you need to pivot or you need to catch up, you've got a couple of days spare, at least a week, I don't know, whatever works for you if you know that life happens, where you can catch up. But your idea is not to use those days, and those will just be extra study days if, for example, you don't need to use them. But by being super purposeful here and being realistic about the time that you have available, first thing is you might just decide, okay, I'm actually not ready to prepare for that bar exam that's coming up because I just don't have the time. If you don't have the time, there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, you have now helped yourself. You've saved yourself a lot of time. You've saved yourself a lot of money. You've saved yourself a lot of stress. And ultimately, you've saved yourself a failure on the bar exam. On the other hand, if you see that you do have enough time, you've set yourself up for success, and you've ensured that not only will you have time to go to the gym, watch that Netflix show stress-free, meet up with your friends, go to the events that you know already are coming up, and enjoy them stress-free, you've also got the time to put in that purposeful work and study for and pass the bar exam and move on with your life. And for sure, I think this is super important for people, especially if your job, for example, is tied in to your ability to pass the bar exam. Set yourself up for success. Do not set yourself up for failure. Ultimately, life happens, and yes, if you do get through halfway through a cycle of prep and you find out actually like this is really stressful and it's just not working, pivot. If you need to move the bar exam date and move on to another one, do that. Or ultimately, if you do now need to adjust, you can work out exactly where it is that you do need to adjust. So for example, as I was saying, like your commute time, that could be time to study. For example, if you listen to an audiobook, so you might want to listen to, I don't know, Bar Exam Toolbox podcast to help you cover off nuances of law that you need to work on. And you might decide that as I drive to and from work, because I've got an hour-long commute, I can just listen to that podcast and be really in the moment and let that just kind of wash over me. And that's study time to help me catch up with what I need to do. Or I might decide for this short amount of time, and again, please consult your doctor if you have any issues, you may decide to cut back on like an hour of sleep. This is the last thing I would want you to ever do, but you may decide for a very short amount of time that you only have evenings free and you need that additional hour. And so that may be what you do. Say, for example, you're still getting a healthy amount of sleep, so I'm not advocating it, but I'm showing you that there are ways that you can make sure that you keep yourself on track to ensure that you've covered exactly what it is that you need to do. But above all else, and please do not fall into this trap, you need rest. You will only perform well on the bar exam if you are well on the bar exam. So give yourself enough sleep, eat enough, exercise. Remember, it's super important to exercise, and it's also important to give yourself a break. So these are my tips for success in order to create a realistic schedule to ensure that you can manage whatever commitments that you have alongside the bar exam. It is possible to do. Yes, it will take hard work, and you do need to be strict about it. The other thing that I would also think about, quickly, is, are you a morning studier or an evening studier? That's also something you really need to consider when you're factoring in your time to study. But by setting yourself up for success, by carving out that specific time and knowing exactly when you have in your time to schedule and manage these other commitments going on, you will maximize your chances for success and ultimately pass the bar exam and move on with your life. So that is how I passed the bar exam. That is how I personally managed studying for and writing the bar exam while working full time, doing a master's, managing other family commitments. I literally did exactly what I've just told you there. I scheduled out exactly the amount of time I had available, and I had to work with it, and I had to know that I had to work incredibly hard with the time that I had available. But I knew for myself it was for a short amount of time. I could put in that hard work for this short amount of time, and I could ultimately turn it into a win. And that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly what you can do too. I'm massively cheering for you. You're awesome. You can do this, and you can definitely work with the time that you have available. I believe in you. Ensure that your sessions are working to exam times, and that's the exam time that you have specifically. So if you've got accommodations, please work to those, not to the time for everybody else. But ultimately, you've got this, and I'm always cheering for you. And if you found this content super useful, hopefully you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, to sign up for additional notifications as I post new content. If you have questions on setting up a schedule for success, please drop it in the comments, and I will either do a further video on it or hopefully answer your question in the comments. And if you need any additional resources to help you study, please check out my link tree, and all the links that are over on my channel page underneath my face. And yeah, I'm massively cheering for you. You've got this. You're going to be an awesome attorney. So with that being said, that is the end of today's coffee chat, and I shall see you at the next one.